Hello. Next question is from Carla. Good morning. And it's a good question, and I had to do some research on it. I tried to wing it and realized, no, you got to go learn something today. So good. I like questions that make me learn something. All right. So Carla's question was, I saw this posted on a person's page. I'd like to be able to reply. What are your thoughts on the validity of this argument? And so what it's pointing to an article, and the article is saying that the CDC thinks that there is below 0.3% case fatality rate, like of total cases, asymptomatic and symptomatic. Now, some of that makes sense, and so I was trying to track these sources to figure out where do these numbers come from and how did they get them, because in science this is what you have to do. You have to try and see, all right, yeah, where do they get these wonderful numbers? Okay, and the answer is these are released. These are modeling parameters that the CDC have released. So these are the modeling parameters that they are using to make their models right now. This is an estimate on all of the parameters. Some of these are based on harder data than others, but all of them are numbers that they plug into particular models that make the models work. So these are not necessarily correct, and there are many disclaimers on the site before you get to the data and on the data itself. This is basically not a prediction. It's not an accurate reflection. This is an estimating tool that public health officials in the states may want to look at. Now, so it's not a thing for obvious public consumption, but people are really interested in this virus, and so it does make sense that they would want to understand this. So trying to figure out what are the kind of upper bounds, lower bounds of, what's the best, worst that could happen, and that's how you do some of this modeling, at least as best I understand it. I am definitely not a modeler. Yeah. And so in looking at this chart, which is cdc.gov/coronavirus/2019-ncov/planning-scenarios.html #box. All one word. What you see in here is that a lot of these parameters are suspiciously rounded, which tells you that these are estimates. These are people's best guess. This is a number that we're plugging in. These are not, in most cases, highly precise calculations. These are, yeah. I don't want to say made-up numbers, because they're made up with a particular purpose and from some source material. So it's not completely invented numbers. But, for example, the R-naught, the original rate of replication, is estimated as exactly 2 or exactly 3, and then in scenario 5 it's exactly 2.5. Yeah, that would be very rare for all of your values to come out at exact whole numbers. That sounds more like the sort of thing you might plug into a model that you were trying to figure out, trying to understand the thing. And also the percentage of asymptomatic infections has gone from exactly 20% to exactly 50 to exactly 20 to 50 and 35 in the 5 scenarios that they're presenting. And so you've got different scenarios that are there. In some of these scenarios, you end up with pretty high amounts of case fatality. In other scenarios, you end up with lower ones. Still, the best data that I've seen that's actually based on actual number of cases and recovered and doing their best to hunt down asymptomatic people and just get them included in the numbers puts the fatality rate at somewhere around 1%, including all the asymptomatics. But the case fatality rates across the U.S., if I remember right, are somewhere around 3%. So we're still missing a lot of cases, or we're doing a much worse job of treating them. But I don't actually think that's the case. Hospitals are not overwhelmed, and there are plenty of good doctors in this country. So it is probably the former, that we're still missing a lot of cases. And so you see all the people that are severe, or at least you see most of them, and you end up counting most of the ones that die but you miss a lot of the ones that have milder symptoms and they continue to spread the virus. That's kind of where we are. So yeah, they're modeling parameters. It's not a thing that it expressly says in there. This is not something that you want to base any sort of direct decision making on. It's not a prediction of what's going to happen in the future. These are 5 possible scenarios. And their best estimate for the case fatality rate is something like 0.4%. I don't know if they took an average of all of these and came up with under 0.3% or looked at the most favorable case, which is under 0.3. But they're all estimates, and none of them are particularly refined estimates, I would say. And so these people are going to be refining their estimates, oh my goodness, and modeling the heck out of this thing. And as time goes on and stats build up, we get much more accurate models. This is teaching, I think, the modelers a lot of stuff from the ones I talked to. Again, not a modeler. Yeah, way outside my area, a very limited expertise. But that's what's going on. So no, don't read too much into it. Don't get too hopeful or too beat up by these things. This is not prediction. This is something else. So there we go. Thanks very much. This is Ask Dr. Ben.